Good morning, Hyrule. It's bright and early 7 a.m. for a race. We have a fighter sword to start in Link's house.
And good morning to you, Jux Referee. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Yude Monistic. So we got a bright and early 7 a.m. race between ChristosOwen and Chisame. So early, we even have a map check, a Desert Palace Green Pendant and crystals at Eastern and Hera.
So bright and early, and we are studying very early in the morning, and we're going to get bomb strats. So I hope our runners have studied those in particular because they have limited ammunition to work with here.
Yeah, but having that fighter sword from Link's house, that'll certainly take care of trying to get through the escape sequence today. We also have a heart container in Uncle's Tunnel.
And it's confirmed to not be Sanctuary Heart, which is a hype thing to find out. ChristosOwen getting a 4 bomb drop, kind of taunting him a bit.
So, since we got an early jump here, we should point out that this is the bracket phase. I believe this is the round of 64, and this is race number 1 between ChristosOwen and Chisame.
Absolutely. So they have fought their way through 7 weeks of Swiss qualifier and have emerged victorious to make it into this bracket. We started with over 500 runners and are now down to, well, we were at 128 for the first round, and that's already over. So we're down to 64 now.
Yeah, I believe ChristosOwen actually got in via invitation from how well he did in the previous races. Chisame has been a fairly new runner, and I know Chisame got through on the Swiss stage as you mentioned.
Yeah, from what we have actual information regarding the bio, Chisame has only been running this since like the beginning of the year, whereas ChristosOwen, pretty well known in the Link to the Past community at large, well known for his NMG runs, of course, and then also for his participation in Randomizer and its development. So it'd be very interesting to see how, the two different schools of thought go. ChristosOwen being familiar with the Randomizer since, like, I don't know, Desirect had it, and Chisame very, new to the scene.
So we found the map and a bloomerang to start in the escape sequence. So we know we're going to find the small key either in this chest here in Zelda's cell or in the sewers.
Yep, and it looks like both of our runners are taking advantage of their newly found sword and, of course, Vanilla Boomerang, or not Vanilla Boomerang, but Early Boomerang, which is very much like NMG Escape, but using it to do the 8/slash strat for that guard. Chisame actually not taking any health available to him. There is a faster pot to grab in the room right behind the mantle, so he might have to pick that up, might have to pick that up at that point.
Now, since we found 10 arrows in the in Zelda's cell, we will see the small key in the sewers right before the door.
And have we already found a map at this point?
Yeah, that was the in the boomerang chest.
Yep, so we're definitely going to check the chest in Sanctuary as we escape it. But we are possibly looking at like a 6:15, 6:30 escape, depending on how they do in the back half here. They don't need to stop for bombs.
No, this is the one time where Uncle gives you the bombs, but since you already had the sword, you haven't had to use one yet.
Yeah, so we're going for minimal kills whatsoever. No point in killing anything that's in our way. Nothing to get from drops, except for maybe rupees, but we expect to find a whole bunch in Kakariko usually anyway. So we have the knowledge that Desert Palace is a pendant and the other two are crystals. We haven't seen any kind of progression items, but things to be on the lookout for. Lamps, bows, of course. We would want to see... Gosh, I imagine the power gloves would be pretty valuable here.
Yeah, and if you're curious, the reason why the light cone is up for standard mode to not force the lamp to be in the beginning of the game, it gives the light cone for standard mode randomizer, but after that, all dark rooms, you will need the lamp in order to see in the dark.
Yeah, this is part a quality of life improvement to the game, and of course for this mode to work, you can't just always have lamp there; it'd be kind of boring. So that's why it's forced for this situation. But you won't need it afterwards, even if you have to come back through. This particular segment allows you to just walk through.
It's very interesting to see both runners using that bloomerang to their advantage to pick up the drops that the rats are throwing or dropping.
Well, it's only the second best stun item, and we just found the hook shot.
As well as a B-torp and a cape.
Well, interesting seed confirmed, it looks like. Potential for Agahnim now that we have a sword and the cape, although we still need a lamp to be in logic to have to go there. Alright, the all-important Sanctuary chest only takes 3 seconds to check, but what's it going to be today? A big old 20.
Alright.
The hook shots are really interesting find, though. They can really bolster their movement speed by making good use of it, so there may be some situations where if they have to, menu at any point, they may consider it. But for now, it looks like both of them are opting not to, because they plan on using bombs in Kakariko.
ChristosOwen bypassing checking Lumberjack Ledge. Chisame is heading north, so I imagine that will be a Lumberjack check.
Yep, we get to find out what the tree pole is, and today Tier 2 is going to give us 10 arrows. I believe they've killed 4 enemies. And the bush crab will also be giving us just hearts, so we're killing them off pretty quick.
Alright, we have piece of heart in the Lost Woods, 10 arrow upgrade in the Lost Woods shack. Man, why did I blank on that? And it didn't look like it was anything of importance in Lumberjack Cave.
It was half as valuable, a 5 arrow quiver upgrade. Well, the tree pole might be arrows for Tier 2, but neither of our runners are actually going to max out their arrow capacity unless they both skipped. Oh, yeah, ChristosOwen skipped that.
Plus, it was on Lumberjack. You kind of need to kill Aga 1 before you can do that.
Oh, we do have 5 chests just here in the Thieves hut, though, and of course the well, so ChristosOwen is going to give us our first look at that. And Tier 1 pull is 5 arrows instead of the Tier 2 of 10. That's kind of crazy.
All right, we got Moon Pearl to start, triple bombs, $20, and another $20.
Well, Moon Pearl's certainly interesting. It makes Dark World access through Agahnim sensible, possibly. Depends on what we see throughout the rest of the South Shore check, and of course Kakariko. But for that being the only item in there, we did get enough rupees to go to the bottle vendor, and since we don't need bombs, I have to think that's exactly where Christos is going after well. However, some runners may opt to save rupees to potentially get to Zora sooner. Not that often, but some do.
Yeah. We have a heart container, as well as another big 20. And $300, and that's about it that you really would care about in the well.
Yep, cash cave. I mean, useful, but I guess it could point us towards a fake flipper if we don't find flippers at any point coming up.
5% return on investment from the bottle vendor today.
Unfortunately, no chicken clip.
But $300 in return.
Yo, the Hyruleans haven't been paying their taxes.
Well, there's that Zora money, and with that Moon Pearl, you could fake flipper to Zora and check that. We're also going to get Sick Kid here, which is just another heart container.
Well, the back of the tavern today is going to hold just 10 arrows, so we are at our capacity. ChristosOwen did pick up that 10. I thought he didn't for his quiver upgrade in the Lost Woods. It's not a bad idea, though. If you never find silvers, you might end up using quite a few of them. Well, we don't have boots, but ChristosOwen is about to open up the library and take a look. On top of that shelf today is going to just be another big 20. We're finding a lot of those quick.
All right, and then the race game, just a piece of heart.
How vanilla. So at this point, we save and quit so we can go south here. This is the last of the Sphere 1 items that are available to us as soon as we leave escape with no particular item requirements, with the exception of bombs, which you are expected to be able to get from drops. So we're going to head towards the dam first, but we may have diversions on whether they go to Agina's or to Ice Rock Cave.
Yeah, and Sphere 1 would include, does also include Eastern Palace, at least the front portion, and then, Sahasrah's Closet. There's the lamp, so that's, Aga 1 access if you're looking for an Aga seed.
Yeah, we have it all. We can go all the way up to the top of the tower, although with the weapons that we have, it might be a little inconvenient to do so. A fighter sword is a sword upgrade down from what we would... never mind.
Yeah, there's this Master Sword at the bottom of the dam.
Isn't there like a famous folklore story about a sword in a lake or something? I don't know.
I think that's a wrong medieval fantasy story.
Nevertheless, we have the Master Sword. The Sword of Evil's Bane is in our pocket. So ChristosOwen finds that first. Chisame is about to find that immediately after. And I have to imagine both of them heading towards Mini Moldworm Cave, trying to find the best item density to avoid Agahnim.
Very nicely done by Christos. There's a D. There's a piece of heart, a heart container, $20, and 5 bomb upgrades. So Eastern is certainly full clearable at this point.
And that's got to seem like a very obvious place to go to. Of course, now, if we find the mirror somewhere, if we continue our checks, and for whatever reason we happen to find, the mirror, we would want to come back and do it with Palace of Darkness. But at the same time, you can do it now. There's items there. And we don't want to do Agahnim.
Nobody wants to do Agahnim. Everyone wants to see Agahnim, but no one wants to do Agahnim.
Something about blue balls and randomness, but thankfully this isn't an MMG. We can afford to expect our opponent to do the same amount.
All right, Chisame getting that map check that we saw earlier. 2 pieces of heart and a blue mail in Sahasrah's Closet.
Seems like the cowboy wants us to, take this, don't go alone. And with that, just a bit of safety, kind of like, a little bit of a blanket to cover us as we enter the Eastern Palace. Apparently it's a cold place. You have to go up all of these stairs, probably lower air pressure up there.
That is entirely possible.
It certainly seems like Link's leg day, though, anytime he has to come up here. So one thing to keep in mind is, how much can we get potentially from these remaining item locations? I didn't see what was in Ice Rock Cave from Chisame, did you?
It was just a piece of heart. So we have 3 items here in Eastern Palace, and then we have a Agahnim Cave, and that's about all we can access at this point. So, unless like Hammer and... Well, actually, thinking about it, Power Glove would at least get us to Death Mountain. Hammer would be Dark World access. Other than a book, Power Glove and book are pretty much the only 2 things that are going to really stave off going to Aga 1. Or flippers. That works.
As if just to punctuate our sentences today. So that does give us Zora. That does, allow us to kind of get around to the hobo check a lot faster, see what's on Hylia Island, possibly accomplishing all of that through a save and quit after Eastern Palace. Some really nice use of the hookshot already. I'm seeing ChristosOwen in Eastern Palace has clearly attempted this dungeon with this layout before, because you can, kill those skull or those Stalfos a little faster in that room, get across whenever you can grab a pot. Little things like that'll add up. Looks like Chisame is doing the same thing, which is smart. Also, it certainly seems to be ordained that we're here, but we haven't found anything. I mean, we found everything we needed to get this done.
I mean, the flippers are certainly progression at this point. As well as the crystal that we'll get once we finish off the Armos Knights.
Or a fetch quest.
Well, there's your 3 items.
So we know that we're going the long way to figure something out, and now that Zora is on the map, I mean, it kind of makes sense to pair it with the mushroom check, although Whirlpool's also convenient. So I'm not really sure what to expect from these runners leaving Eastern.
Yeah, actually, in terms of all the flipper checks in the light world, the mushroom's kind of actually out of the way a bit.
Yeah, you have to backtrack, and then, you know, it just doesn't work out conveniently. So what I might see someone do is, you know, save and quit to Link's house, check all the Lake Hylia stuff, warp to Zora, and then walk back from there, but that's a long chain. In the name of saving the 4 or 5 minutes you could potentially spend in the castle tower, but probably like 3 or 4, honestly.
Was ChristosOwen gets ready to head into Armos Knights. The thing to keep in mind at this point is that because we do have access to Aga 1, we're still 2 items away from avoiding that. So, you know, if Zora doesn't come up with anything and it's down to Mushroom and Agahnim Cave, the chances that both of those things lead to Dark World access is going to be pretty slim.
Yeah, so we may even see some of our competitors here, either of them, make the decision to save and quit before they check everything in that chain. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the brutal calculus of figuring out, hey, how many items could I potentially actually have here?
All right, so ChristosOwen heads south and gonna do Lake Hylia Island.
And of course, if you didn't have bombs, you could stop in that shop, or you could just mirror back to Hylia Island, which has bombs today. In the meantime, Chisame is almost at the Armos Knights fight. Hopefully goes as well as ChristosOwen's did. You know, there's a fast heal strat, and there's a few different setups. So I believe Christos did the top right, and we'll see what Chisame does next.
All right, Hobo just has his life savings of $20 available.
Yeah, did he just send us on a beer run?
Maybe possible. I mean, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, even though it's 7 o'clock where I am.
Same. Looking like top right strats for Chisame. You pump 5 arrows into the right and just pump the rest straight down on the left side and should be perfect. 18 arrows. Might even fire one into the wall like Chisame did there, but no problem. We got plenty to work with. So one thing potentially lingering in the back of our runners' minds as ChristosOwen finds not much in Waterfall Cave, you know, is possibly the Agahnim having maybe, I don't know, a book or something, you know, just one possible item that could actually get them around Agahnim. But who would bite first? You know, who's going to bite the bullet and say, hey, I'm going to take out Agahnim and get my access?
All right, well, we have a 5-bomb upgrade on the Zora ledge. And Chisame is still following ChristosOwen's heels. All right, what lesson does good King Zora have for us today? How about silver arrows?
So yeah, that's probably like the best money ever spent at Zora.
However, that does mean we're down to 2 locations. And ChristosOwen pulls out the mushroom. Oh, he's gonna use the whirlpool here to get up to the witch.
Smart game world knowledge. Not very commonly seen portal, but this is the fastest way to get there. And at the same time, Chisame making the same flippers checks, going to see Waterfall Cave and then Zora, but we'll see if it leads to the mushroom here, which ChristosOwen finds out is just going to be a heart. Hard resets. I love that.
Yep, saving that mushroom for a fake powder glitch. But at this point, Agahnim Cave is the only location we have left. And so I would not be surprised if ChristosOwen just says, all right, this is an Agaseed, I'm heading there. And that is what he's doing.
So it shouldn't take too long, and we're pretty much, well, I mean, practically vanilla equipped. We're not going to use anything besides silvers, possibly for some guards, but the Master Sword and, you know, roughly, maybe a couple extra hearts. We're doing pretty good right now to do this climb. It's really nice to have the boomerang because there's a bunch of different strats that are really enhanced by that.
What's also interesting here with the setup that we have of hookshot and flippers, the west side of Dark World is actually going to be accessible once they get there. It's not well known, but you can flipper to across the boulder that's blocking access to the hookshot spot just above pod. So once they get there, they're not going to be locked by just pod. They're going to be able to go over to Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, the one thing that stinks though is if you jump off the ledge south of Village of Outcasts to go through the south part of the Dark World, you can't get back unless you take the long way back around. So hopefully by the time you get to Hype Cave, you find something like the hammer, or else you're kind of in hot water.
Well, the thing is, you can't even get to Hype Cave right now because there isn't a ladder you can go up from the water in Dark Lake Hylia.
Well, no, I mean like if you were to take like the hookshot across the water in northeast Dark World and go all the way around, then south through Village of Outcasts, you can jump off that ledge.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. My bad.
It's still just like a really long chain, so like you have to kind of bank everything on finding it by then. Otherwise, you know, it's a long way back around to get to Palace of Darkness. Say if you want to do that afterwards. So that's an interesting thing to consider. You know, who's gonna be willing to jump into Hype Cave without a hammer? I'm sorry, Palace of Darkness, not Hype Cave.
Yeah, the thing is, we haven't seen a map check yet, and well, neither one has had a chance to get to the Dark World yet, so we have no idea, you know, what we're gonna have to deal with once we get there.
Well, it's a pretty fast ascent for ChristosOwen. Chisame most of the way through. A couple highly technical rooms coming up ahead, like the Circle of Pots room, which we saw boomerang strats from ChristosOwen. We'll see how many blue balls both of our runners will get. It's going to be consistent across the two of them. The way that this fight works is there's a 5-attack cycle. The first attack is always reflectable, and 2, 3, and 4 are normally 50-50 chance of reflectable or blue ball, and the 5th only is a lightning attack. The amount of blue balls is set.
And as to your point, we start with another reflect. There's our first blue ball.
And as is customary, if you'd like, go ahead and guess in chat. It's a little late now, but I think there's probably 3.
All right, here's another required reflection. So that's 4 for ChristosOwen. There's a second blue ball.
Wow, so that was 2, wasn't it?
Yep.
Also of note,
Yeah.
you know, it seems like Chisame actually saved some time over ChristosOwen in the castle tower, which I'm kind of surprised by because Christos is a NMG runner. Just not gonna call you out here, but
And just a heart container on the pyramid ledge.
but was it Sankart? We may never find out. So here's that water route you're talking about.
Yep.
And to your previous point, we haven't seen a map check yet, so Christos is actually going to head to Catfish. Interesting.
He can't get there, though. He still needs a lift upgrade with that. Yeah, there you go, Christos. You can't lift that rock.
On the bright side, it's not a very long diversion, so able to get right back across the river with that very handy-dandy hookshot shortcut.
All right, there's a map check. Pod and Swamp Palace are red 5/6 crystals. Thieves Town blue pendant, Meyer red pendant.
Yeah, so no fire rod to clear out Skull Woods at 5/6 crystal, and Palace of Darkness, we still need that hammer, so we're a little bit unlikely to be heading to the pyramid anytime soon, but it is still possible for that to be an item later on.
Chisame still following in Christos' footsteps. We're going to get a bumper cave check here. Just 10 arrows.
So despite not having what we need to clear it, ChristosOwen banking on finding the 2 items in here without it, not having to go to the back. Gonna try to find those items here in Skullwoods first.
And interesting that Christos is going to start from the back and then I imagine work his way front.
Mummy's not being too friendly to him today. Well, actually very friendly. They just want a hug. Would you look at that? It's vanilla.
Very vanilla indeed.
So that's actually like a really great find because now the rest of the routing for the front half is considerably easier. We have that big key and don't have to worry about skipping that big chest. Probably going to do a bomb jump across. I mean, not a whole lot of reason to drop through this hole here if you can do the bomb jump. Moment of uncertainty there. Not really sure which way he wanted to go.
All right, meanwhile, Chisame went into Village of Outcasts and finds an Ether Medallion in the chess game.
So Ether is interesting for a couple of reasons. It's possible, depending on Misery Meyer, if that ends up being necessary, that we could have a bird toss today. Ooh, is that a mirror in Thieves Town? That's a great find for Chisame ahead of ChristosOwen, and can now check a couple of extra locations.
Yeah, that really only opens up South Grove and Graveyard Ledges at this point. We still can't get to Death Mountain without the Power Glove, so Hera would be accessible once we get up there, but we still need a way to get up to Death Mountain.
Wow. What was that on the Richter scale? Was that a quake in Thieves Town?
That was a quake in Thieves Town. I say that's about a 3.7 on the Richter scale.
Well, seeming a little unsettled by that, Chisame dipping out, actually going to head to the rest of Village of Outcasts checks, maybe seeking some, more stable shelter.
Well, with it being a pendant, and having found two of the 4 items, seems to stand why Chisame is just gonna nope out at this point.
Well, so that was the fourth hard piece for ChristosOwen, getting a very convenient health refill. But we have a dig game here for Chisame, and that's actually interesting because it's a random number of digs that will get you the item. It can be a lot of digs or just a couple. It's looking like a few.
Yeah, we're at 15 already.
Oh, I thought for a second there we weren't going to actually find it, but 50 rupees, we're going to walk away from that.
All that digging for 50 bucks.
Not even getting a return on investment for playing the game.
Technically, it was a return on investment with all the big 20s that were getting dug up.
Fair enough, fair enough. We did profit. This is actually the intended way the game's supposed to work. Well, that mirror did point us here to cave 45. Chisame is going to open that up and find half magic. Very much worth picking up.
Exactly. It's not progression, but certainly will make things easier. Especially because Skullwoods and Turtle Rock are going to be on the table.
Yeah, and the only value I can think of for skipping it would be 1, to save the time, of course, and 2, potentially to... Wow, it's Power Glove. Potentially to do Fake Powder a little faster, but Power Glove's going to do a lot for us.
Yeah, that gets us to Death Mountain, and then that mirror will get us to Hera. And ChristosOwen is going to go ahead and head into the back of Thieves Town. So we will see if Chisame missed out on anything of importance. But I think it's time for some hype. We got Hype Cave coming up.
All right, so what's the index like today? I'm predicting 5 out of 10.
Well, we found a lot of progression so far, so I would not be surprised if it's pretty tripe. It was a big 20 to start. Fisher Price, My First Shield, Bombos Medallion, the Hammer, and 20 bucks. So that's a solid meh.
It started and ended with meh, but I mean, the filler in between. I mean, we're talking like double stuffed Oreo sandwich filler. So that does a lot for us, Hammer, and of course the last medallion, so we are no longer worrying about our medallions. However, ChristosOwen, I'm not sure if he picked up the Quake medallion yet.
He did, it just isn't on the tracker yet.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, so he should likely get all 3 of them. There's not going to be any advantage in that one. That being said, though, there is still a few more items here in Thieves Town, or at least a few more locations to check. The astute counters of items out there may have noticed or counted how many items could potentially be left. I didn't myself, but we will find out whether or not blind's even worth killing.
Well, at this point, if you've gone this far, Christos is gonna finish off blind, so you don't have to come back if that is the case. Chisame did decide with getting the Power Glove and the Hammer to go ahead and do an early Swamp House dive.
I like this a lot. There's a ton of items here. This is uncommonly picked for a lot of people out there. They just want to be able to go mode this dungeon so much for the time save. But we have the hook shot. I mean, the configuration of items works perfectly fine.
And ChristosOwen makes a fool of me yet again by getting the 4th item and then just immediately saying, nope, I'm done.
And that may also be stemming from which dungeon it is specifically. It's very easy to get there, and not only that, but going to blind directly from the entrance isn't actually that bad, particularly if you have boots. So if it ends up being a pedestal thing, probably just hedging his bets there, saying, hey, it's not going to cost me that much anyway. But yeah, so we'll find those 50 rupees in the dig game shortly, but Swamp Palace has a plethora of items. We're going to find a few just here in the front half, and we can opt to go to the back. Some folks will do so. I'm kind of curious, if you jump in here early, I mean, do you full clear this, or do you dive to the back?
This early on, I probably would full clear. So I recounted, that was 30 digs to get that 50 bucks, which is the maximum the randomizer will have set. Like I would do it the way Chisame is doing it right now, where you still do Argus first in case the big key is in the back, but I would still be doing it with the intention that I'm going to come back in and do left side swamp.
Yeah, same here. I mean, and hoping that you maybe find everything that works out that way. It's an interesting gamble to make. I mean, the percentage chance of it's a little low in my opinion, but even then, you know, if it works out, you did save quite a lot of time. I believe the actual difference from having to come back in is a matter of like 15-20 seconds, I think, depending on how you route it. But getting that big key is interesting as well, because you might just want to go back upstairs and open up that chest.
That's not what Chisame is going to do, though. You know, again, since he's probably going to come back in, you're going to have to walk by that big chest, so you can go ahead and just wait until you get back in.
Yep, and for those of you joining the stream a little bit late, this is actually the one cave where Chisame had a bit of an item advantage, Hype Cave. So at the moment, for the most part, their progression's identical.
Yeah, the only real difference is ChristosOwen has dipped further into Thieves Town and did Skullwoods when Chisame did not. So that is the only difference at this point. And instead of going to Swamp Palace, ChristosOwen is going to Pod.
Yeah, we saw the hammer and had to thank Helmasaur, so that's where he's heading next. I like what Chisame is doing here in this fight, though. Double hook shotting. Very great way to speed this fight up. It's a little precise, though, so if you don't get at least one per cycle, or if you don't actually kill one per cycle, you end up losing time, but I like what he's doing here. So I don't see any logical barriers here in Palace of Darkness for ChristosOwen. Gotta think he full clears here.
Especially with it being a 5/6 crystal. All right, Argus is down for Chisame. And just a little bit of love from Argus.
However, up next, Palace of Darkness.
All right, here we go.
I gotta love having this dungeon with a mirror.
It certainly makes routing a lot easier when you can just warp back with how windy this dungeon ends up being.
Well, if we somehow miss the bow, we would be locked by it, or locked from it from the rest of this dungeon, excuse me, wordsuit, by that bow, since we didn't find a small key in that first chest, but that's not an issue. We're going to go right side anyway. ChristosOwen going to check the two items over here and then route back across to the other side using the hammer.
Chisame forgetting... Oh, he's got to get the key.
So we haven't found everything here in Swamp Palace. Chisame is going to spend a fair amount of time coming back around, even with this particular slight mishap trying to get all the chests, but it's definitely going to take some time to get over there, and if there's nothing there, this is bad news, Chisame. Wow. At 39 minutes and 20 seconds, ChristosOwen finds the boots. The run can start.
What are those indeed? That's like the most perfect time to find boots so you can bonk across the bridge there.
Yeah, that's about as friendly to routing as it gets. It's like finding hookshot in the first chest of Eastern Palace. but this will be a boon to ChristosOwen for any dungeons he can complete before, or any movement, any time spent before Chisame finds them. So if Chisame, well, should be going to, yeah, he should be going to Palace of Darkness next in all reality. So this should still work out all right, but it is an advantage until they both have them. Was that a big 20 in that first chest?
I think so.
Oh no. Chisame, please.
Very
Also,
nicely done from the bomb jump on ChristosOwen's side. Sorry about that.
No, we're both saying the same thing. It's one that you don't see very much in, say, a casual playthrough of the game, but it's useful here in Randomizer for some certain routing situations. So it's definitely a bad place for Chisame. I'm wondering if... Oh, is that Tempered Sword in the basement as well?
Yes, it is.
Well, when it rains, it pours, and the bacon sword, as some call it, or the bread sword, or the tempered, is a very great damage boost or upgrade for our sword. It makes the hammer the effective equivalent in terms of damage, but with much better hitbox.
There's Titan's mitts.
Well, hopefully that lifted his spirits, because now he has access to a whole lot more than he did before, and that's pretty much all the overworld we were looking for. So at this point, all of Death Mountain, you can do it all in one go. We have everything we need for that. And ChristosOwen can get this crystal while he's here, so this is a fantastic sequence of events for him.
All right, so we still need the fire and ice rods. We need the cane of Samaria and the flute. So we are 4 items away from go mode at this point.
Well, I saw that, Christos. You tried for the sexy statue. You got very close. It was a valiant effort, but unfortunately no swag for you today. Although I did have to respect the man for having full health walking into the basement. He gets to save a menu in this next segment. All in all, though, I'm kind of surprised at how much progression through Palace of Darkness Chisame already has. I mean, considering that's a swamp palace fully cleared between Christos and Chisame. I mean, obviously there were extra dungeons checked for Christos, but that's pretty close together even despite that swamp.
Chad also correcting me, we do not need the flute for go mode, as Misery Mire is just a pendant today.
Although I'm always wondering how we're supposed to leave Aghanim's tower, or I'm sorry, Ganon's tower to go fight Ganon if we haven't got the flute. Nevertheless, though.
It is a cutscene, so doesn't really care what items you have.
And no lies detected there, but it's going to take 17 hits to the face with this hammer to take down Helmasaur King's shell. You can also use 4 bombs if you're on, adventurous, but after that, we're probably going to use a silver arrow to finish it off.
And just like clockwork, ChristosOwen gets Helmasaur down. For a red meringue.
Well, you can't have, only good items in this dungeon. Also, that's 2 crystals down for both of our racers, although Chisame very close to getting number 3. Where ChristosOwen goes from here, there's tons of places to pick, but if I had to guess based on this save and quit, Death Mountain?
Probably do Flinctuary while you're here.
Oh yes, we did get the boots. So did the king die a rich man or a pauper? Oh, pauper. So just a $5, footlong in the king's tomb, but Bonk Rock's possibly better.
Just a little bit of love.
I'd call that a 25% improvement.
And now ChristosOwen is gonna follow your advice and head to Death Mountain.
Not leaving much to the unknown. Very few large gambles to be played so far. I mean, we left Thieves Town, after we got all the items, Skull Woods, we did everything we could in there. Possibly gambles to route them that way, but, I mean, sensible choices nonetheless. Meanwhile, Chisame is almost all the way into the basement and about to take on the Helmasaur King, so depending on what we see after this, ooh, powder. No need for fake powder anymore. I gotta ask you, Jex Ruffy, I mean, do you trade 4 hearts for the spin speed there?
I suck at this game, so I don't know if I am the person to be asking that question.
For those of you who don't know about spin speed, or that particular speed glitch that we do allow, both in this and the NMG game, of course, if you charge up a sword spin and then hit the dash button the frame after you release it, you can store Link's running speed in his walking animation. So now you can round corners and change your direction without having to charge up dashes, which is really nice. It only lasts for the screen that you're on, and you can cancel it by starting up another dash. You won't be able to use the sword.
Yeah, you can also use it with the hook shot. Hook shot will also activate that speed glitch as well. We got the big key to start in Thieves Town, so our coffee break is on hold.
Not sure the Union's going to be happy about that one.
All right, and Chisame gets the 3rd crystal.
Yeah, very good fight for both of our runners for Helmasaur King. That can sometimes go pretty awry. We had pretty good equipment as well. With boots and hookshot, though, there's no point in doing a bomb jump for that big chest. However, we are not finding any of the items yet.
We did find the big 20, so there is only one more item. So it could be on Troll Dorm, it could be in the coffee break room.
Really gotta love that tempered sword damage, though.
And just like that, Troll Dorm is down, and we're taking a coffee break.
Yep, Trolldorm is actually a representative from OSHA, or if there's an equivalent Department of Labor in the UK for ChristosOwen's crowd. He does not like us skipping those mandatory 10-minute scheduled regular breaks. Nevertheless, ChristosOwen chooses to work through his break, and he's going to leave Tower of Hera.
Okay. Ooh. I saw a rod up on the floating island. I couldn't tell if it was fire or ice, though.
Either way, important to us, whether or not it's fire or ice rod may determine how soon we're trying to grab it. Although, I mean, we're here on the mountain. There's no reason not to do it now. We have the hook shot.
Chat pointing out that was the fire rod. Chat also pointing out that since this is red potion in Spiral Cave, since ChristosOwen is from our brethren across the pond, and we keep referencing it as a coffee break, he doesn't he gets his 4 o'clock tea, so that's why he ain't worried about no coffee break.
Well, it's even weirder though, because I mean, do you expect that man to skip his tea?
True. This is true.
Perhaps he's been drinking it all along, just, you know, spiting us with or without the break, but he's going to check his Paradox Caves locations, and there's 5 items here, so this should hopefully have something.
Well, let's see what those 5 items are. Piece of heart. 20 bucks. 50 bucks. Piece of heart. And 20 bucks. Whole lot of nothing in Paradox Cave.
And I can feel on an ephemeral level how ChristosOwen walked straight down into that pit, clearly not very happy about his finds. Looks like both of our runners are on the mountain, though, which is interesting. So it looks like Chisame's approach is going to be very similar to ChristosOwen's. Trying to do a sword climb. Interesting thing, we talked about that speed glitch before by using the hook shot and an item at the same time. It's called an item dash, and that charge is super speed, which you have to trigger by walking up or down off of a manual ladder or staircase. But you can hold your sword out and do a hook dash at the same time to go even faster on ladders. Interesting finds there, though.
Red mail and cane with a name Brian on it.
Yeah, attention to the person with the license plate that says Brian out there. We found your cane. You may want to pick it up at Lost and Found. Just a hint. Hookshot's looking a little empty so far, though. Are we gonna find anything up here?
Well, we will get that fire rod.
Yeah, but where's the suspense? You know, I'm noticing it seems like Chisame is picking up even more time on ChristosOwen in some of these overworld locations. Very efficient movement, and for someone who's, you know, been playing Randomizer for like this year only, pretty impressed by that. That bomb jump, for example, saved, you know, a handful of seconds over Christos just by pulling that off in one try.
All right, so Christos mirrors back. Now we'll take his tea break.
So there's a couple of reasons he could have done that. He may endeavor to check Spike Cave after this, and that would make sense to be coming back this way.
All right, we're gonna see that Bombos is what's needed for Turtle Rock, but since we have all 3 medallions, didn't need to worry about that. Chisame is gonna open up Turtle Rock, but not gonna go in. Makes sense at this point.
So I gotta ask a chat, what flavor tea do you think Christos is drinking right now? I opt for Earl Grey.
See, I don't drink tea or coffee. I'm just gonna say nice mint tea with a lemon kick to it. Or a cane of Samaria!
Certainly something to stir that tea with, and if he wasn't sipping it before, he is now. He has a really important item, and I'm kind of curious. I mean, you could actually go into Turtle Rock with that. I mean, you don't have an ice rod, but, you know. What if there's a required double dip?
I gotta think about this right now. So, yeah, I wouldn't be gambling Turtle Rock. I probably would be heading for Ice Palace.
And if not that, maybe Skull Woods and then Ice Palace, you know, like, or the other way around, you know, both of those pretty appealing options. But man, that's gotta be weighing on his head. I mean, if I was in his position. Also, shout out to chat for correcting me on the preferred tea preference for ChristosOwen. English breakfast. Never heard of it, but it sounds good. So
Right.
we're heading towards Skull Woods, it looks like?
Yeah, I would have to imagine that's where Christos is heading. Having that fire rod, you can certainly now finish off Skull Woods. Chisame not electing not to do Hera.
You know, there's a couple of potential reasons for that. May wish to pair that with going to Ganon's Tower. I mean, it's kind of weird, but I mean, people do it.
He's gonna have to do Hera first because you're gonna need the cane for Turtle Rock.
Yeah, so I mean, if it works out that he ends up doing that on his way to Turtle Rock, that could still work out okay.
Now he has Swamp Palace done where ChristosOwen does not. So that will end up being in his favor a little bit, but it'll depend on. It really just comes down to, yet again, as we've seen so many times in this randomizer, where is that ice rod? Because that's all we need for go mode at this point.
In the meantime, though, we have a really nice weapon to kill this Mothula with, and some extra magic just in case, but it takes 4 sword slashes to take down Mothula as long as they don't get overridden by those spikes. ChristosOwen finishing it before I could even explain it.
And giving us the second item of a single green rupee.
Well, unfortunately, no book today, so without that book, we cannot check the pedestal. We're just going to save and quit from there to have more freedom for where our start location is. Wow, Chisame getting the worst lag ever in that in that big key room.
All right, looks like ChristosOwen. I was about to say heading for Swamp Palace, but this might be an Ice Palace play.
I'm kind of curious. Oh, wait, we don't have flute, so this is a sensible way to get there. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting decision to do ice before swamp.
Well, he has his fire rod equipped. Maybe the logic here is he's going to thaw out this dungeon before he goes to the other one. I don't know.
Could be. The reason why I'm saying this is that there is 6 items in Swamp Palace. We know those 6 items are Bupkis, but there's only 3 here in Ice Palace. So that's why I'm saying it's curious that we're seeing Ice Palace before Swamp, just because of the difference in the density of items.
So an interesting detail here. I mean, we're about to get our 4th crystal here for Chisame immediately after killing this Mothula. And it may look like they're pretty even overall, but I have to think that the advantage right now is slightly Chisame's based on dungeon completion, for Swamp Palace being a full clear, and Christos probably likely to do the same thing.
Honestly, at this point, it all depends on where the ice rod is. If, for example, if we find the ice rod in Ice Palace, then ChristosOwen can just go mode Swamp Palace where Chisame had to full clear it.
Fair point, and that is a pretty big time sink. Alternatively, if Chisame somehow finds the ice rod outside of Ice Palace, would also be able to go mode Ice Palace. So it's like, I wonder who's gonna find this.
I mean, this is why we usually prefer not to kind of say like, well, this person has a lead or this person doesn't, because it can always change in a hurry.
Yeah, I think the most generous to get with that stuff is like an advantage maybe, but that's just like, in respects to something like, inventory or, dungeon completion. It is absolutely correct, and folks, you should avoid, kind of thinking, hey, someone's got a lead until you have something kind of definitive like that.
We have a bit of a divergence here as Chisame is going to take the big bomb to go unlock the Fat Fairy. And we got Butter and Ice Palace.
Christos doing a couple spin moves, not really sure what to make of that. Not the item he was hoping for. Well, given the limited number of item locations available to our runners right now, Chisame might be making a gigantic play here.
Well, and again, like that B-Torp and Butter Sword, that's 2 of the 3 items in Ice Palace. There's only 1 more to go.
Oh!
Well!
And that's no mode for us. Chisame still needs that Cane of Samaria from Hera, but, I mean, oh no, that might actually lead him to full clear Ice Palace. Well, with that in mind, I don't know, did he already check the mushroom? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. That's what he's doing now.
So yeah, barely over an hour into the race, and we already know exactly where everything is to get on going, and we're only a couple dungeons away from completion here. This has been a very fast seed.
I mean, now... Here's where this race is going to get interesting, because we know the Cane of Samaria is in Hera in the coffee break room. This race is really going to come down to when does ChristosOwen go to Fat Fairy, and when does Chisame go back to Hera?
Also, ChristosOwen's going to be done full clearing this before too long, probably another couple minutes, and be out of here. And then we'll head to Swamp Palace. We'll full clear that as far as we can tell. And then from there, has not much else left. So I got to think that once these dungeons are complete, I mean, there's no way to get into desert at this point, so there's really no guesswork to be had here. He'll definitely think of that by then. And then Chisame is going to have, Ice Palace to full clear here, but after that, I mean, might go back to Thieves Town, maybe? If he doesn't go back to Thieves Town, that's a nice advantage.
You gotta think Chisame would do a Crystal Hera before trying to do a Pendant Thieves Town.
But it all remains to be seen yet, so Chisame's entered Ice Palace, ChristosOwen making his way to burn down Cold Stare, or maybe just chop at him with a Butter Sword. Plenty of damage from that. I mean, this fight is functionally equivalent to the NMG fight, with the exception of getting a little more damage off the pokes.
ChristosOwen making quick work of the ice block, gets Cold Stare in a corner, and just like that, we are done.
Is rewarded with not a Sand Cart. We haven't seen one yet, actually. Yeah, so there's some questions in chat about why we would skip Tower of Hera. Hard to be sure about it, but I mean, possibly to combo with GT. We know that that isn't possible, but it does still lead him directly to Turtle Rock afterwards, and he can't get in without doing this first, so it works out okay for Chisame. It just kind of confusing when we saw it happen and while we watched it unfold. So ChristosOwen here is heading back to the portal, it looks like. So that may actually be the Pyramid Fairy, but it could also be Swamp Palace. Hold on to your hats, folks. This is a pretty important decision here.
Does he go north or does he go south? Survey says he's
goes
going north
north
to Faf. All right, that will put ChristosOwen into go mode.
So he'll have go mode first. However, depending on how long Chisame is in Ice Palace and Tower of Hera, may end up still having some ground to gain here. It's really hard to say until they start getting a little closer to these dungeon completions. And ChristosOwen is remembering that you can actually mirror here and take the bridge warp. I think, did Chisame go the long way?
Yes, Chisame did.
Interesting time loss there. If you end up watching this VOD later, Chisame, I definitely recommend doing what ChristosOwen just did there. If you've already killed Agahnim. But 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 40 seconds, ChristosOwen has entered go mode.
All right, so just a go mode of Swamp and a go mode of Turtle Rock, and then we are on our way to Ganon's Tower. And this is where holding off Swamp Palace as long as ChristosOwen did is going to pay off, because go moding Swamp Palace as opposed to full clearing Swamp Palace is huge time difference.
Yeah, we're talking about minutes. In chat asking about Agahnim being required or why Agahnim was required. We did not have access to the Dark World because of Power Glove and even Hammer, which we found. Power Glove was at Stumpy and Hammer was in Hype Cave. And also Thieves Town is in Dark Maze of Palace of Darkness. Also, going forward here, ChristosOwen is going to make some pretty predictable plays, I have to think. No reason to go anywhere but straight back to Argus, and we have even better equipment than Chisame did when it came to him having the Master Sword for that fight, so we'll be a little bit faster for him. That being said, though, Chisame is finishing up Ice Palace here, and if you go right up to Hera, pretty convenient routing. Hard to say how long it'll take, but we have to do the basement too.
At this point, ChristosOwen has everything he's going to need. You got Butter Sword, you got Silvers, you got Red Mail, you got enough pots. Like, you're not needing to do any more checks. You just got to get the requisite keys to get through the dungeons and then be on your way.
There's a couple of chests that ChristosOwen can skip here and opts to. Might actually pick up this one, but probably won't.
Now, real quick, well, since someone asked in chat, this is a best of 3, and both of these runners are going to be racing, doing their second race at 5:30 Eastern today, and that is still going to be on this Speed Gaming channel.
Yep, so about, what is that, 9 hours from now?
Something like that.
To start and end their day, I suppose.
Alright, wait, is Chisame going to Pendant Thieves Town?
Could also be considering the lumberjack, or not lumberjack, smith checks. But we know this is really bad news, though. Well, so Smith's here having, you know, potentially some information for him, but not any kind of progression that we care about. That cane is nowhere near here.
Meanwhile, ChristosOwen heading for Turtle Rock.
Well, today our peg cave is just a bug net of destiny, but we're not going to pick that up, apparently.
No swag needed, as we've already killed Agahnim.
I mean, we could use it again for the Geometry Wizard variant, but certainly not something we're worried about at this point.
RickTick gave us a Twitch Prime subscription, which is 15 months in a row. Thank you very much, RickTick.
Really fantastic support of Speed Gaming. Really appreciate it. In the meantime, though, ChristosOwen is going to bomb post his way into Turtle Rock, and we're getting a magic bat check. I saw I mentioned in chat that it'd be very good for Chisame to not find the flute at this point.
I didn't find it with the magic bat. Now, as I remember that I still have my Twitch Prime sub that I gotta re-up here, it's a good time to mention that there's going to be a game that we like to play when we get to the basement of Ganon's Tower that we're not starting yet. But if you want to play in the game that we're not starting yet, you need to either have subscribed to one of our 6 Speed Gaming channels or donate 250 bits to one of those Speed Gaming channels. Once ChristosOwen finishes off Trinex and makes his way to Ganon's Tower, that is then the time when we will play the game that we're not starting yet.
Hey, so they should do those things before then, right? Because we're not starting yet.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I think it's been the delay between me and the Twitch feed. I'm surprised to see no numbers. Looks like we decided not to start yet. In the meantime, though, small keys to be found here in Turtle Rock so far. So ChristosOwen's going to make his way to the back half, having plenty to work with. Well, I may have spoken too soon. It looks like somebody has just simply put a number in the chat and inspired everybody else who may have been looking but not listening. You know, based on that game of Samaria use there, you'd think ChristosOwen was a fan of American football, or maybe he's just watching the World Cup.
Well, Britain is in the World Cup. U.S., unfortunately, we didn't get a qualification, so...
You can't have them all. But very exciting to watch, and of course, we appreciate you folks for tuning in to Speed Gaming during such a time. Folks, if you want to catch the rest of this tournament and all the randomizer action, you should follow Speed Gaming 2 through 6, and of course ALTTP Randomizer and ALTTP Randomizer 2 through now 5, which we just unveiled recently.
We also have a Discord channel. You can also check out ALTTPR.com to play the randomizer yourself and join the community.
Hey, we're always looking for more, and it's thanks to folks like you that this is possible. So shout outs again to those of you who have either supported or just simply been here. Both very valuable. But so far we have a few more things to do in Turtle Rock. ChristosOwen has opted to, of course, skip the big chest and the Mimic Cave. Completely unnecessary at this point.
And Chisame finally heading to Hera. Ooh, swing and a miss. Trying to use the cane to get through all those switches.
So at this point, Chisame is about to finish off Moldorm. Next up would be that Cane of Samaria, and then, of course, Turtle Rock. So ChristosOwen has turned around and swung this into a full dungeon advantage here, or a lead, I suppose, now that we're going to be in go mode after Chisame picks up that Cane of Samaria. So at this point, what do you think could possibly swing this back against Tower despawn?
Well, I was about to say it could be if the small key was either in the big chest or the vanilla big key chest, but that was not the case. Yeah, there's either essentially Chisame is one dungeon behind, so it's gonna take a bit for him to get back in. But again, this is only race 1 of 3, so it's not do or die for Chisame just yet.
And there's some interesting things to be considered in that as well. Being that it is a best of 3, you may opt to do different choices against your opponent based on what you expect them to do. Gotta say, though, nice zero cycle from ChristosOwen, and Buttersword makes that a lot easier.
And just like that, Christos has Trinex down.
Yeah, pursuant to your previous point, having the best of 3 to work with, I wonder what kind of decisions these runners will make differently in their next race, which you can see actually later on today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
That said, that game that I was talking about, there are 22 items where that big key can be in the basement of Ganon's tower. If you want to play this game, you need to put a guess between 1 and 22, having either donated or subscribed to the Speed Gaming channels, but you better do it fast because we're almost to Ganon's tower. You name Monistic. What is your guess?
I'm a big fan of Bob, so 14 is my choice today if we go right left. What about you today, Jax Raffi?
I'm going to go 6.
Well, small numbers. Get your guesses in, though. We only have a few scant moments here, and of course, when we see him enter the basement, that's when we cut it off. So, go ahead and throw in your guesses.
And guesses are officially closed. All right, chest number 1, small key. Number 2, piece of heart. We did get a small key, so we're going right side.
Yeah, so there is a bit of a choice involved there. You don't have to go left or right in particular once you have a small key there. You have a choice between the two. And ChristosOwen opts to go right, which is the fastest way to get to the Ice Armos if you're going to opt to do that. Although he may opt to simply mirror out after taking care of these 4 chests that he's about to approach now.
Very nice corner kick from ChristosOwen. Number 3, piece of heart. Number 4, there it is.
Well, that's bad news for Chisame, who has no potential time save over ChristosOwen in this Gan's Tower basement. However, having picked up that extra key, ChristosOwen is ready to climb up. Could have gambled by not getting that, but would have been bad if it didn't work out.
All right, the first sub or supporter to correctly guess number 4 was Paw Fuzzy, so congratulations.
Today you win our love and affection and, of course, a place on our leaderboard. Congratulations. That being said, you may need a few more wins before you start showing up on the abbreviated version. I guess you'll have to tune into more rando.
Especially as Paw Fuzzy is saying that was his first win in the spring tournament leaderboard.
Hey, plenty of matches left, plenty of time. Just gotta, dig in and get your 1 in 22 chance guesses in. In theory, if you watch enough rando.
But with that, 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 48 seconds, ChristosOwen is into the gauntlet.
Also, this is pretty comfy territory for anybody who plays the game in an NMG speed run. However, Christos having a little bit of trouble with these horse heads. I'm trying to remember the proper name for them. Can't remember them at all.
Zyzax.
Yes, perfect. Exactly that. But having some very strange patrol patterns. But snipes the red Stalfos very nicely.
Yeah, he does a lot better in the last 2 rooms and is going to be into land mode 2. And very nicely done with the silver arrows to 1 cycle land mode 2, and we're already up to the 5th floor.
Yeah, so as pointed out in chat just how much equipment he has, unless he loses a lot of health, he shouldn't be too worried here. This is actually pretty comfy health for the latter half of this dungeon, provided no major mishaps with Agahnim or Moldorm 2.
Ooh. Missed the cane block, gets it in 2 blocks, so.
Yo, Chisame getting the perfect double spin on the pokies there. I saw that. Pokey 2, very nicely done. Well, the other nice thing about our loadout right now is we have half magic, so this dungeon becomes, Ganon's Tower becomes a lot more straightforward. And no tower despawn today. Well, Chisame is about to hit the basement of Turtle Rock, whereas ChristosOwen has an opportunity to hover if he was a fast button presser, but is probably going to kill Moldorm instead.
Yeah, getting a hook shot, he's just going to take care of Trolldorm the old-fashioned way.
You'll notice he picked the hook shot out. Ooh, Mirror Shield in the final chest. Normally a big 20 in the vanilla game.
Okay.
Nothing he can get out of that, but he'll look really cool walking into the Triforce room. He'll look like he completed a seed.
All right, well, we're going to certainly have a riot here in the Geometry Wars. Very nice double to start.
Ooh, that was a triple.
Very nice.
The tough thing about that, though, is that, sometimes you can overwrite one of them by shooting them too close together, and Christos got all 3 of those hits.
And it is time for the big pig.
So the equipment that we have, Butter Sword and Silvers, makes the fight very trivial. This is the fastest version of the fight, and you're going to see Christos almost certainly do this with much gusto. First 2 phases are going to be 6 hits each with the Butter Sword, and then phase 3 is just 4 hits total no matter what you're using, and phase 4 we're just going to have 4 silver arrows, so this should be done pretty quick. Meanwhile, Chisame finishes up Turtle Rock, has a Ganon's Tower to finish to catch up here.
right, already into phase 3. Ganon certainly not being cooperative today with the teleports.
Yeah, that was more than a handful for the first one, but so far not too bad in the next two. Alright, that could have been a lot worse. Wow, he got a frame perfect slash there.
Not worrying about the torch glitch at all. Ooh, a little careful, but very nice triple to finish off Ganon.
Yeah, that was part of the not looking for torch glitch thing, is that if you stand in the center there and shoot with fire rod both ways, you can pull off a triple from the positioning that Ganon has in the middle of the arena. So with that, give him a GG in chat. ChristosOwen will finish with official speed racing TD time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 55 seconds.
We'll see if we can get ChristosOwen in chat. That was a very fast seed today. Wasn't too trolly at all.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, if we're looking at, say, like the difference between this time and, say, a speedrun time of the vanilla game, I mean, ChristosOwen not looking that far off from where he actually is as a runner. To be specific, his NMG PB is 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 38 seconds, so he's officially faster at Rando.
All right, well, Chisame does have the big key and going to be making his way up to the gauntlet.
Making really quick work of these mimics, using some really smart positioning, and taking advantage of how the mimics respond to your inputs, even if Link himself is not directly moving. And this is a great time to remind everybody, though, if you enjoyed what you've seen so far in this race, and of course want to catch everything that they're doing, definitely recommend giving these runners a follow, ChristosOwen and Chisame. They put on a great performance for us today, and I'm looking forward to seeing their match later on this evening for Game 2, and hey, maybe even a Game 3. Chisame definitely putting on a great performance and a relatively close race for what it was.
Yeah, Game 2 will be at 5:30 Eastern on Speed Gaming 1. We also will have a race at 1:30 Eastern between Someone325 and Spooty Biscuit, the restream channel to be determined. Gem and Chex Human will be racing on Speed Gaming 5 at 2:30 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, it looks like we needed to actually send Christos an invite. I'll do that. All right, looks like we were joined by the victor of the race today, ChristosOwen. GG and congratulations.
Yo, thank you very much.
How you feeling after that race?
I feel like I need more tea. I'm still pretty tired. It's one of the earliest starts to a stream.
So I want to clear the air about that. What tea do you prefer, since chat was talking about it?
English breakfast by a long way.
No, we were joking about the coffee break room because you skipped it at first, and then chat was correcting us that you would obviously prefer tea as opposed to coffee for your break.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the reasoning for the routing where you bypassed the Hera basement before going back to it after routing the rest of Death Mountain?
Honestly, there was fair odds I'd be able to skip it. I was only missing 3 items, Fire, Ice Rod, Samaria, and I had all of Death Mountain and Dark Death Mountain and Hookshot Cave yet to be checked. So I figured I can just do an entire loop, and if I don't find the 3 items I need there, then I'll just do Hera at the end.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it certainly was a good thing you did. That honestly was the difference in the race. That honestly was the difference in the race in terms of Chisame did go to Death Mountain, but waited a long time to actually go to Hera. And so that pretty much was, you found the Ice Rod before Chisame did, and that just made the difference in the race.
Yeah, I've spoken to him a little bit in the runner chat, and unfortunately he had a misclick on his tracker, and he didn't think Hera was a crystal, which influenced his decision to bypass it.
That would make sense.
Yeah, so that ended up being a pretty critical, juncture for this race, because had he done, Hera at that time, would have been much more inclined to go up to Turtle Rock sooner, and avoided probably like the Smith chain if that were the case.
Yeah, it seems like it was a pretty pivotal thing. We have talked about what each of us did for our routing. Some pretty interesting crisscross by the sounds of it. I'll wait until he gets there, so he can talk for himself.
It certainly was interesting because of the fact that I don't want to say there was a bit of a lead, but because you had chose to do more of Thieves Town than he did, you got a little bit behind in terms of the progression, but just that Hera play was what really swung the race. But Chisame has finished off Aga 2 and going to be dropping into Ganon here shortly.
I mean, overall, it was a pretty generous seed, I think. Really just going to Palace of Darkness, that gave you mitts and boots, a medallion. I think there was something else in there as well. And once you got that, the world just completely opened up, and I could just start bashing out crystals.
Wasn't Tempered Sword there?
Yeah, that's right. Sword upgrade. I wasn't sure what to do. I decided, obviously, Death Mountain was the first priority after that, with Hera being a crystal as well. And then after that, since I found Fire Rod, I could finish Skullwoods, which was a crystal required for Fat Fairy, and had some items. And then I was debating going straight to Fat Fairy, but unfortunately full cleared Ice Palace, and then did Fat Fairy. So ended up wasting a bit of time with Ice. But luckily I managed to skip Swamp full clear, which is always nice. And that's always what I try and hope for.
Yeah. Chisame did an early dip into Swamp House and then had to full clear it. Honestly, there wasn't anything in there, but that's the 4th silver arrow for Chisame, and has Ganon down.
And with that, Chisame will finish with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 41 seconds. GG and chats, folks.
GG's to both the runners. All right, we'll see if we can get Chisame in here for an interview.
Well, so this is game 1 of your potential 3 here. Obviously, you won this race today, ChristosOwen, but going into game 2, anything that you might want to do differently compared to how you approached this seed today, or maybe in respect to Chisame?
Probably not. Just try and do more of the same, I guess. I mean, it works for me usually. Today was actually the first match where I feel like I played okay. I've only had 2 games so far in the tournament because I didn't do the Swiss round, so I was pretty rusty. But today was a lot better. I was on form with my execution, and the decisions were mostly good. So it was definitely an improvement. So hopefully just continued improvement and just play well again. It's actually later today, the next match.
Yeah, we've been advertising that your second race is going to be at 5:30 on Speed Gaming again, and we do have Chisame joining us in chat. GG.
GG, Chris, and GG, everyone.
Yeah, good game, dude.
All right.
How you feeling?
I was very confused when Moldorm had a crystal, and I paused for a second. Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah, you. To be honest, you actually had a bit of a lead in terms of the crystal count for most of the race, and it just came down to not doing Hera when you were up there, and apparently, I guess you misclicked on your tracker that Hera was a pendant instead of a crystal.
Yeah, I mistook Desert and Hera, so I was trying to avoid it at all costs. I think I full cleared Overworld except for Thieves Town, which I gambled out of.
Yeah, there wasn't anything in the back of Thieves Town. Christos did full clear that.
Yeah, you missed out on some rupees, and I think that was it.
Well, I suppose Chisame might say the same to you about Swamp Palace.
Yeah, I was just loaded with like 20s. I think it was all big 20s.
Wow. Yeah, I was really happy to be able to go mode Swamp.
Oof. All right, don't mismark trackers. That's the lesson of the day.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate mistake. I feel a little bad because I know it's super early for you, and you've been really flexible with scheduling, so that we can squeeze these in before GDQ.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, as long as we can get this all before GDQ, this will work out for us.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Chisame, this is a best of 3, so even though you have the loss here, you still have a chance to advance if you can win in the next 2 races.
I'm finally behind again. This is like all of my Swiss games.
Hey, that being said, though, you did win out to get here, though. I mean, you definitely got your wins in to qualify. So I have a lot of faith that you have a fighting chance here in this second and potentially third race. I already asked ChristosOwen about this, but do you have anything that you plan on doing to prepare for your race later on today, Chisame, or any changes in your decision making you might make?
I think all my decisions, aside from the Hera mismark, was correct. I had forgotten Flipper's unlocked West Dark World, which is why I built Swamp. If I had remembered that, I probably would have built the pod as well before and skipped Swamp for a while. The call to go to Fat Fairy before... I went to Fat Fairy for Ice, if I recall. I decided on going to Ice afterwards, but it would have been pretty good otherwise.
That makes sense, but GG's to both ChristosOwen and Chisame. It was certainly a pleasure to watch both of you race, and again, please be sure to give both of them a follow on Twitch for all of the excitement that they provided for us this morning.
And of course, if you're looking to watch more Randomizer, we have still plenty of matches on the schedule for today, and of course going throughout the week. As Christos and Chisame both mentioned, trying to get these matches in before GDQ, which I believe we have a bit of a break for, just to make sure everybody can do their thing for that, whether they want to be in it or watch it. Honestly, I plan on watching a fair amount of it. But as for today, though, at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, these are all Eastern Daylight Time. Sorry, those of you abroad in different time zones, ChristosOwen in particular. But at 1:30, we have Someone 325 versus Spooty Biscuit. 2:30, Gem versus Chex Human. 2:30 also is Justin Z versus Alders, and 3:30, 5:30, 8, 9, and that'll finish out the night. So we have a lot of matches ahead of us here.
Absolutely. Let's also give a shout out to Magic Jade 47 for tracking for us today. Did a really good job keeping track of both the items. ChristosOwen and Chisame, any final thoughts before we wrap it up here?
Just thanks to you guys for commentating. I know it's early start, so I appreciate that you were available to get the restream.
Yeah, sorry about the late notice about that, but thanks everyone.
Yeah, it works out for me. I now I can focus more on work now that I got my volunteering done for today.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I came off of a night shift, so it worked out perfect for me anyway. Happy to have the opportunity.
So, anyway, I think that's going to do it for us. Eudaimonistic, it was a pleasure commentating with you today.
Likewise. So from everybody here at Speed Gaming, and shout outs to those of you behind the scenes, thank you. We'll sign it off with that. I've been Eudaimonistic, joined by Jex Reffi, excuse me. And folks, we'll see you next mission.
Have a great day.